Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to answer the question, are the Eternals still worth investing in 1 year later? And this is going to have interesting implications for players because Black Friday is around the corner. The crystal savings, etc., the deals. I think a lot of players are banking on using their saved up crystals now to invest in uniforms, to invest in deluxe packs, and some of these epic quest characters. And as the most recent epic quest, I think a lot of eyes are on Makari, Cersei, and Thena. So I wanted to tackle this question, and I wanted to basically break down why I think no, they are not worth investing in anymore. But we have to get into the details on that. Now, before we get into those details, we do first need to acknowledge that unlike other epic quests, the one for the Eternals is structured in a way where you're forced to get all 5 in order to get number 6. What that means is you have to build Cersei, Icarus, Kingo, Makari, and Gilgamesh in order to even be able to get Thena. So Thena's value, although great, is weighed down by this investment. And although Makari and Thena have definitely held up 1 year later, the rest of the Eternals have not really held up, which I think is a big issue. We will also cover at the end of the video some comparisons to some other epic quests and what you can get there. But essentially what I want to start off with is just focusing on the characters and their value nowadays. So nowadays, I would say the only value left in the Eternals epic quest at this point is Cersei, Thena, and Makari. And I would probably put Makari first, Thena second, and then Cersei third on that ranking, but you could probably flip-flop these two. The rest of the Eternals, i.e. Kingo, Gilgamesh, and Icarus, have little to no value in most rosters unless you're very focused on Alliance Conquest. If you're very focused on Alliance Conquest, you actually have to take that answer that I gave about a minute ago when I said no and flip that to a yes. If you're very invested in Alliance Conquest and you've already built out a lot of your roster, then adding the Eternals to that Alliance Conquest roster is definitely going to help. And that's where Kingo, and especially Gilgamesh and Icarus are going to regain a lot of value. But let me be clear, Alliance Conquest is the only game mode where Gilgamesh and Icarus still have value. Besides, there's one other game mode. Do you know what that game mode is? That's right, story mode fragment farming. When Gilgamesh, Kingo, and Icarus are chosen here to be the daily characters, that's when they have value. Otherwise, like Kingo's right there. Otherwise, they're never used on my roster, and they're never used on, I would guess, 90% of rosters besides players who play Alliance Conquest competitively. So, okay, we've established that Icarus, Kingo, and Gilgamesh not used for anything besides story mode and Alliance Conquest. Cool. So now where are we going to be using Makari, Thena, and Cersei? Well, that's where it gets a little bit more complicated. Recently, we got Miss Marvel and Shuri, both of which basically compete with or eclipse are better than Makari. And their investment is a fraction of the investment cost for Makari. And now, with Awakening materials being so much more easy to farm from ABX and ABL, the value of a strong Transcended character is not as good as it once was because you have much more resources, so you can build out many more of them, and you can, you have that available to you. So Makari's value has definitely taken a hit. Not to mention the fact, for Makari's sake, that Makari was hanging on largely in part to the fact that there were no speed tier 4s. We have one, we're certainly going to get more in the future, and they're going to be better, right? They're going to be better than Makari because they're going to be tier 4s. So I see Makari's value shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. She's still a really fun character to play. She still has gorgeous animations, but I'm basically very close to stripping her all of her Odin's blessings and giving them to other characters because she's basically past her prime at this point, unfortunately. Still a good character, surprisingly good in PvP to this day, but unfortunately unable to keep up with more recent speed types. So then we come to Thena, and Thena's actually an interesting case because as a universal female hero, she fits into a niche, especially for ABX and ABL. And she actually only has one character that gets the jump on her and is actually better than her, and that's Scarlet Witch Doctor Strange 2. Now, Scarlet Witch Doctor Strange 2 is also a very expensive character, but I would argue she's a necessary character for your roster. So not only is it good that she's strong, but I think it's a better long-term investment than Thena because of the fact that you need Scarlet Witch in order, you have to have it unlocked, you have to have her built up in order to unlock World Boss Legend, right? And any future World Boss Legends, they're gonna pose the same problem if you constantly skip Scarlet Witch, Apocalypse, Cable, and Quicksilver. So because of that, Scarlet Witch not only is better than Thena, she's just she's just straight up better than Thena for the same content, but she's also, given that longevity that's built into her character. Whereas for Thena, not only is she one of the most, if not the most expensive character in the game, but she's not even #1 anymore, and I would guess that she'll continue to slip as more and more universal female heroes come out. It may not be Jane Foster, it might be Captain Marvel tier 4 or something like that, but the end is coming for her. Same sort of thing with Makari. We only have 2 universal tier 4s, and none of them are female. The first one we get is going to have to be better than Scarlet Witch, which means she's by default going to be better than Thena. So then that means at last we come to Cersei. Now, I think Cersei, funny enough, if you're not meta chasing, may have the most value for you. And the reason for that is she can still hold her own in timeline battle PvP. And believe it or not, there are a lot of players who are watching for easy value characters like Spider-Man, characters like Cersei, easy value PvP characters that they can rely on for a long time to get them 120, 140, 180 crystals. So as long as you have her artifact and you can farm that one for free from her quest, or you can get it through other means, she'll be able to revive. And so being able to revive is going to guarantee you at least 1 kill on almost any character these days because of Illusion Force. And thankfully, being a blast type, you have the advantage of having type advantage over Hulk and other combats, Punisher, Captain America, Carnage, Venom, etc. So Cersei, I would say, is really only for PvP nowadays. Very good for Alliance Conquest, as we highlighted with Kingo, Gilgamesh, and Icarus, but also, unlike the rest of the Eternals, also still good, not top 5, maybe top 10, but still good enough for PvP. However, that's not enough for a lot of players. And so, yeah, that really leaves me, with a situation where 1 year on, the Eternals have basically been replaced. Now, 1 year ago, only 3 of the Eternals, well, 4 of the Eternals were meta. Right? It's not like they were all meta in the beginning. Kingo and Icarus weren't meta, and Gilgamesh was very meta, but he fell off hard. So at this point, you're only building Gilgamesh for Thena, unless you're really into Alliance Conquest. So it's a really difficult group to recommend. I know they're really cool. I personally love the Eternals movie, but at this point, for those super wise and very carefully spending MFF players, I would say, for the time being, steer clear of the Eternals, right? There may come a time where they discount the epic quest or something like that. There may come a time where these characters get uniforms, and that would be the time to invest in them. But right now, their value is sliding, and it's only going to continue to slide in the future, right? Just to be clear, they've never discounted epic quests or deluxe packs, but I'm just saying who knows, rather than buying them now and just sort of dealing with it. As far as the future of the Eternals goes, I do want to highlight this article from not that long ago that said that the Eternals will return in the MCU. So I do see them getting uniforms in the future, as long as MFF doesn't shut down by then, which I don't think it will. But essentially, with this article and this interview, they basically gave a timeline that they will be back again, right? There's basically some mention of the Eternals in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and we know that Adam Warlock is going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and that link to the Eternals, and basically says that there could even be the Eternals 2, but this basically still puts their timeline on returning to the MCU at least 1.5 to maybe 3 years out. So again, that sort of, they're not going to get uniforms between now and then. I don't think. I would be shocked if they did. Very few Epic Quest characters get repeat uniforms unless they're very popular in the wider MCU and the wider Marvel universe, like Deadpool and Doctor Strange. Like, look at the Fantastic Four, right? Very few uniforms. No uniforms for any of these characters since they were released, besides Punisher, right? Not a single uniform for any of these characters. Not a single uniform here for any of these characters either, except for Green Goblin. So it really begs the question, right? If they're not at the top now, where are they going to be in a year and a half, 2 years? They're not going to be very far. The last thing I want to mention here quickly is the quest that you can farm when you buy when you buy Gilgamesh and Makari. These quests can be good because you can farm Celestial Essence. However, I would say they are not important. They're not as important in my opinion as other quests are for other deluxe packs. Now I know they're half the price. They're 4,400 crystals instead of or not half, but like 2/3 of the price. But I would say getting Moonstone, for example, and being able to get these boost ISO is going to, you know, pay off more for you than getting that Celestial Essence, gambling that Celestial Essence, and then hoping that you get an artifact, right? You also get 4- and 5-star obelisks. So I just think overall this has more value, especially for newer accounts. Like, these are pieces that you use to build characters. Whereas the Celestial Essence, you're just burning gold, hoping to get an artifact down the line for a specific character. Whereas with these other quests, right, these deluxe packs, and if you, instead of going for Moonstone, if you go for someone like Nova, you get a very strong support. I would actually probably say Nova may have the most value right now for a newer account especially. So that's sort of my take on the Eternals and the epic quests, and the answer of, do you need to invest in the Eternals now? Hopefully this has helped you. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.